Hey everybody, I just finished up the battle for Zadorra bridges. Probably won't release this for a couple days because I want to work on the second half of this video for what's going to happen next anyway. So I want to have a little bit of a preamble and a little bit of information involving the Alpha Strike campaign in 3039. I thought this battle was great. It was kind of cool how it was all a little bit up in the air until the very end. There was I think around like turn 16 I was like, I don't know if the British are going to be able to get across these bridges and secure them. And a bit of a technicality, you know, the Gomorrah Mayor over here in the center and then Girona over here still have French garrisons inside them. But the fact that all three French infantry battalions were faltering, and there's a high percentage that someone's going to shatter and fall apart, and the French were just in sorry shape. General Rail's command was buckling at the end. I'll probably break down each bridge and just kind of do a quick chat on it. Might as well do Girona since it's right in front of me here. This was General Gauthier's command, mostly against the Highland Brigade. And you know, this was probably the least active of the bridges for assaults across it. It was more of a gamesmanship, I think, ended up being, because I mean the British cavalry was sitting there. The Highlanders were kind of close by too, so there was two options to come across the bridge. Most of the artillery pieces were down at this end. The British had one in the center and one to the right of where I'm sitting. And the French cavalry kind of got back here, and they were kind of prepared to do a counterattack, which never really came. So it froze the French cavalry. The French went into square, and then once the British guns destroyed all the French artillery, it was just shoot them if you got them. And the French really couldn't do anything. They could have fallen back, but then the British would have crossed the bridge. You know, the French could have gone back into line, but then the British cavalry was right there to come across. They basically just chose to stay in square, and they just got hammered by artillery. Until finally the British came across the bridge when they were pretty much beat down pretty bad, and it just basically they got pushed back. They still had the 2nd Battalion, 119th here in the garrison, but they were both hurting, and with the brigade faltering, there wasn't much left to offer. But General Gauthier, I think he's been in multiple battles that I've used him in. He did well. He had a couple line units and a couple reserve units, and up against, I think the British had 4 veteran battalions plus their cavalry. They were able to beat the Gordon Highlanders back, but that was kind of I guess a technicality, because I was using the battalion or regimental guns incorrectly, which I still enjoyed the heck out of. It was great that, you know, yeah, I got it wrong, but it was kind of neat that how devastating they were. Instead of, it's really just like one cannon, it's usually a 4-pounder or something like that. So I'm guessing versus a battery was considered, in Scott's way he breaks it down, is by 8 guns. So it definitely what it was intended with the 3 CDs of shooting is a whole lot better than the Death Star strikes that I was giving out. But still, it was kind of fun, and it made it a bit more challenging. I know in the original map, 2 of the built-up areas had stuff on the other side. 1, I didn't have enough buildings for that, and 2, I really wanted to make this tougher on the British, because with the quality of troops they had, as they have throughout the majority of this campaign, I think they will throughout the entire campaign. I haven't really read La Hermandad and the final assault on Vitoria in much detail yet, but the British do enjoy superior troops throughout, as far as I can tell. And up until this point, the French have a lot of reservist units that are, they buckle at 10 casualties. They don't save as well. They lose some, they go up against a veteran unit, they're going to give up some stuff in the charge and hand-to-hand and everything else. Plus the British are getting an extra CD a lot of times with shooting, let alone they have a veteran unit. So Girona was good. In the center, Gamara Mayor, that was awesome. Who was it? General, I'm forgetting his name. Let me give a minute. Was it Hulky there? Hay? Oh, I can't see his name. So I'm over here. I'm still talking to you. Yeah, General Hay and General Amtida. General Hay came across first, and he got repulsed, and then he got driven back. Then they brought the Hanoverian Brigade in, and Amtida made 2 dashes across the bridge, both of which were repulsed. That brigade was basically combat ineffective after that. They were kind of proctoring in for Spanish troops, but it was just fun using Hanoverians. And then General Hay came again, and this time he actually was able to get across. I think maybe I got driven past one more time, and then because I think there was 4 failed bridge assaults, and then the 5th time was successful. If I'm wrong there, if it was 3 failed ones and 1 good one at the end, I apologize, but I have a feeling it might have been 4. But they finally came across the bridge. I think the key thing was the Allied cavalry had come across, had put the French into square, and then the French got pounded for 2 turns by artillery and were softened up. I think even one of them got pulverized, and then the British came across the bridge and just that one, I think it was the 59th or something, just destroyed the French Léger square and knocked them back. And they will secure the center, even though there is still a garrison inside of Gamara Mayor, but it was worn and beat down. But it was a good fight. The French ended up consolidating in this region over here on the top of the center hill behind the middle of their line. Their cavalry would have screened a retreat for General Rail and what his forces he had left. And then looking over at the far French left at Abu Chuko, besides I pronounce it 84 different ways, which I apologize because I don't think any of them were right. That was really the only one that fell relatively quickly, and it still was in later on in the game. But the British did throw 2 full infantry brigades at it. The French were able to bring in General Boyer with the reserve, with 4 infantry battalions, 2 of which were Léger, but with the reserve units that were over there, they just muscled their way in. After the skirmish fire was pretty intense over there, with the 2 KGL light battalions going into skirmish fire, and they had 2 skirmish screens, and they were able to just nickel and dime away at them until they finally were able to shove their way across. And I think the only reason they made their way across is because I think right before that assault, I had a couple guys in the community reached out to me and told me I got the guns wrong. So that was remedied, and they were a whole lot less firepower. And then the General Robinson drove himself across, pushed the reserve unit battalion under Lamentiere back, and then attacked him again with Post of Honor, and just drove him off the table. And that basically after that, the General Rail was rolling with 5 ADCs instead of 6, and had 1 less brigade to play with. And then basically you had 2 British infantry battalions, or brigades, across the bridge, and they just started taking the flank and just hammering away at Boyer's boys until they were almost done. The Léger played phenomenally. The gentleman in the center with General Menet and the gentleman with Boyer on the left, they were the only grenadier units in the French force here on this northern part of the battlefield. And as usual, they played phenomenally well. The order of battle is not correct, of course, but hopefully you guys figured that out by now. I tweaked it, and I'll probably continue to tweak things just to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit more sporting, I guess. And we'll see if it works out. But so far, it's been great. I've got no complaints. So, big British victory. I did casualties, and actually went back to the previous battles before this and calculated battles. And then I looked on, it was, it's a sorry source, but Wikipedia, and got casualties from the real battle. I know I could go probably on a more trusted source, but it's interesting. I'm not too trusting with my numbers; they're not realistic. So it's interesting to compare it to what is out there. For this battle, the French had 1,370 men killed, 2,284 wounded, 913 missing, 12 cavalry casualties, 16 guns lost, and 786 men captured. So that's pretty bad. The British had 771 killed versus the French, of course, 1,370. The British had 1,284 men wounded, 513 missing, 13 casualties on the cavalry. They lost a gun, and nobody was captured. Just for totals, I'll go over the French casualties for the battles before this that I've used with Scott's casualty calculator. I've kind of redone them from earlier. I might even take some screenshots of this and put it into this video somewhere. At the combat at Osma, the first battle in this in the scenario book, the French had 893 killed, 1,487 wounded, 596 missing. They lost a gun, and they had 12 men captured. The Battle of Puebla Heights, the French had, let's just stay with the same battle. The British, for that same battle at Osma, they had 656 killed, 1,094 wounded, 437 missing. There was no cavalry involved. 4 guns knocked out, and 11 men captured. For the Puebla Heights, the French had 1,219. The Puebla Heights was brutal until we got to this one. 1,219 men killed, 2,033 wounded, 813 Frenchmen were missing. No cavalry again. They lost 16 guns, and 621 men were captured by the British forces. For that same battle, the British had 896 men killed, 1,492 wounded, 597 missing. No cavalry. 2 guns knocked out. Nothing captured. And the hill, what else was left? That was the Puebla Heights, sorry. The hill of Arinez, the French had 456 killed, 912 wounded, 578 missing. They had 356 cavalry casualties. They lost 16 guns again. 415 guys were captured. That same battle, the British had 595 men killed, 958 wounded, 637 wounded, 153 casualties on the cavalry, 2 guns, and no wounded. So if you compare for the totals so far, we still have 2 battle for Hermandad and the final assault on Vitoria still to play. But total, the French have so far lost 3,838 men killed, 6,716 wounded, 2,900 missing, 368 cavalry wounded or lost. They've lost 49 guns so far, and the British have captured 1,384 men. The British have lost 2,918 killed, 4,824 wounded, 2,184 missing, 166 cavalry casualties, 9 guns knocked out, and 11 gentlemen captured. If you compare the totals here from Wikipedia, in the total Battle of Vitoria, the French lost 756, and we're already at 3,838. So, whoops. Obviously, because of my phenomenal tactics. The French had a total of 4,414 wounded. I'm already at 6,716. So that's not good. And the French did lose 151 guns. So I've only lost 49 so far, so I'm doing good there. And they've had 2,800 men captured at the real battle, where I've had 1,384. The British and Spanish and Portuguese had 840 killed, and I'm already at 2,918, so I smoked that one. Pretty even on casualties for the Allies. They had 4,040 in real life, and I'm already at 4,824. And then the only thing I had lifted was 266 Allied captured, and I'm at 11. So we shall see. Pretty brutal. I'll keep this spreadsheet up. Maybe I'll include a quick screenshot of it somewhere in the middle of all this reading, just to make it a little bit more visual for you guys. Because it's hard to. The numbers were kind of dizzying, but definitely more brutal on the tabletop than it was in reality. But not terribly far off. For next up, for the Battle of Hermandad, it's either going to be a game over Discord with Scott, which would be great. This is coming up as my last week on night shift, so yeah, it was nice because I was kind of on Australia time when I'm on night shift here, but I was working so much just to put some extra coin in our pockets. I didn't really get a chance to play with Scott at nighttime. Anyway, and we'll figure something out. Because Scott, he always points out to me he is retired, and I am jealous. So he can kind of do whatever. But we'll figure out something. We'll maybe take a shot at it in a week or two. Maybe this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. I'll talk to him sometime in the next couple of days. I'm going to clean up this. I've got some terrain still to work on before I can get my Alpha Strike game going. Addison really wants to play that, so she'll be down here with me. We'll go over that in detail of my ideas, and hopefully it sounds entertaining to everybody. But just stand by for Alpha Strike information here in a minute. It'll probably sound a little different as I retreat to my microphone and some screenshots and stuff from the 3039 campaign book and anything else I can think of. Sorry about yawning. It's hot today. It's like night. I know down in like Georgia and Alabama, Mississippi, Texas and stuff like that is twice as hot as it is here in Louisiana. But it's 95 here with pretty good humidity, so that's 35 Celsius. So it's a bit smoking for me. The wife and I had some fun today. We went to church, and then we went out and ran some errands and did some stuff around the house. So I was like a little bit of a sweaty mess here. But it was great to get some stuff done, and it was great to finish up this game earlier today. So I hope you all are doing well, and just stand by for a bunch of Alpha Strike stuff, prep work for how I'm going to try to attack the campaign, and we'll go from there. All right, you guys are fantastic. We'll talk to you soon. All right, for the upcoming Alpha Strike campaign, which I've never played before, I'm an avid, I was an avid BattleTech player back in the 1980s, and then I've just kind of dabbled since then. I've only played Classic, as I said, so this will be a bit of a jump for me, but the fact that I am interested in getting large amounts of troops onto the tabletop, I'm also interested in doing a lot of battles. Probably whenever I design something, it's usually too big, and I end up getting lost in my original plan because
I want it to be awesome. I want it to be huge. And then I'm like halfway through it, I'm like, oh my, I've made this way too large. So hopefully the abbreviated versions of Alpha Strike will help me out here. And it's still a bit daunting the way I've set this up, and I'm just looking at it now from an outsider looking in. But I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to hope at least I can get into this a little bit more than just a couple of games. And unless, hopefully not, but if Alpha Strike is completely not as exciting as I think it's going to be, I might reevaluate and just find something else. I just want to I love the BattleTech universe. I love the lore. I love the game itself. So I want to take part in it. But if what I'm doing doesn't really feel like it to me, I'll have to pivot and come up with something else. But let's hope it doesn't happen. So we're going to play in the 3039 war, which is after the Fourth Succession War and prior to the clans coming in, which is kind of I like the Fourth Succession War prior to the clan invasion. It's kind of my favorite time period. I might dabble in the clans later, but it gets a little bit out of control in my mind, and you start getting into the jihad and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, the mechs start having some insane rules that I think you need to be a very experienced player to to get into it. This is, and as I said before, this is going to be a bit of a dabble for me. Napoleonics and ACW are going to be my big themes, and hopefully after David Brown releases his new mass combat rules for Ancients, I'd like to take a look at those and modify them for my Chark campaign. That would be interesting, and I'm looking for a mass combat rule system. I've tried a few. I think the ones I originally started off with just aren't quite expandable to what I want to do, and or just didn't grab me yet. So I'm looking for that rule system that kind of does it, and I really like the format of Dave Brown's games and the way he thinks of things, the way he attacks his rules. So if this system can be modified to play that campaign, kind of like a almost fantasy medieval, that would be ideal for me. Because that way my brain will be able to stay the same way. I also know there's new Pickett's Charge coming out next year, so just a lot of things to look forward to coming from the Two Fat Lardies and Ricewitz Pretz and David and Christopher Brown. They are fantastic people. If you get a chance to meet them, go for it. All right, so in the War of 3039, it's a FedCom invasion, mostly of the Draconis Combine. I am not an expert on this, but the Lyran Commonwealth and the Federated Sons joined houses in the Fourth Succession War, and then now they're huge. That makes a lot of people nervous. They've already kind of crushed the Capellan Confederation. What are they called? Comstar starts getting nervous with how large these guys are getting. They kind of they like the status quo when all of the there's no single power in the universe. It's all just the succession houses battling and kind of maintaining that, as I said, status quo. So they start helping out the Draconis Combine, and they also, I think they limit the communication that FedCom can use during the war, and it's a great quote of Napoleon's that's actually in this 3039 book, and it's like the key to war is communication, and once the FedCom's cut off from the hyperpulse communication systems, and they're relying on their black boxes, which unfortunately also are slower, and they've also been hacked by the Draconis Combine. So now you've got a slower communication that your enemy can listen to, and your enemy's got all the benefits of the instantaneous communication and everything else. Plus, they know your plans. It kind of you're doomed, no matter how big you are. So, but we'll see if those little parts of the campaign or the actual war probably won't be played out on my playing table. My plan. Well, one is to have a good time. Two, Addison wants to play. My daughter, one of my daughters, I have four of them. So that'd be great to get her involved. We're going to use the Chaos campaign rules. They're free from Catalyst Games. I've never used those before, but I've read them and they look very interesting. They seem simple enough for me, and it's kind of a down and dirty way to do things. So I'm going to try to follow those. We're going to have battalion level games. So that's a lot of mechs. I'm also going to break down each force or each side into 5 different forces, and which are all going to be identical, but I'm going to keep track of them separately. And just play out, pick 5 planets that were actually in the initial thrust of this operation. There was actually 2 main operations that launched the initial attacks in I think it was in April 3039. There was Operation Winter Schnee, which is Operation Winter Snow, and Operation Sturmhammer, which was Stormhammer translated. And I picked right now I've only done the Winter Schnee, and I picked 5 planets. I'll show you a graphic of those 5 planets, and then took historical forces that were on those planets, and they're just going to be represented by the troops or the mechs I already have. There's not going to be... I'm just sticking with mech on mech combat. I'm not going to jump into infantry, aerotech, and tanks, and helicopters, and VTOLs, and everything else initially. Maybe I'll get them later. I don't know. I think a lot of my attention right now is going to be on Civil War and Napoleonics. So that's going to occupy a lot of my budget and of my time. The nice thing for me is with the scale that Battletech is at, as I make terrain, particularly roads, rivers, and trees, they will work really well with epic scale stuff that I'm going to be delving into in the future, with Warlord's Black Powder, and also once I get a 3D printer and learn how to actually use the darn thing correctly this time, I'm going to get a lot of help from the community, especially Scott. And he keeps telling me it's simple, but I don't know. I'm intimidated by it, so, and I didn't do well last time, so it's kind of, I've got PTSD about the darn stuff. And that's not the, yeah. So, and I'm just a little bit anxious about messing it up again. So, and I'll be able to print probably in 13 millimeter or epic scale Napoleonics, epic scale Ancients, epic scale whatever I want. I'll probably even move my chart campaign into epic scale and just have that'll just make my table that's already huge even more huge, and I just can't wait to have gigantic, almost strategic like battles on any time period that I really want. Even in the World War II stuff, I'm going to do that in Victrix 12 millimeter. So that'll blend in nice. That terrain will be very useful. The 13.5 or 15 millimeter will be very, it should be compatible from what I've read at least. Correct me if I'm wrong before I buy the stuff, please. So there are going to be battalion level games of mechs. And I got the 5 separate forces. I picked 5 planets. I showed you the graphic. And I also have the maps for both operations, the Operation Winter Schnee and Operation Sturmhammer. And we'll show you those too. So the plan is to move through the Chaos campaign battle ladder or whatever, or planetary attack ladder, and see who wins, and then check off planets who controls them. If you go around at some point, if it starts keeping going in circles where the one side's about to win, but the other side, because it's chaos campaign, as you see in the graphic, you can be winning and then you lose a battle and you kick back up to a different location or a different scenario in that the campaign ladder. If you start going around in circles, then we're just going to basically chronologically chick off a month for that particular planet. And at some point, if it's going to start making a tactical decision if you're the attacker or if you want to stick around or continue this or bail off planet and just give up on a particular planet. Might even offer reinforcements if it spins around in circles and do all kinds of cool stuff. Because in the real battle, the Federated Commonwealth made this massive attack, and they attacked at lots of different planets, and then basically the Draconis Combine attacked back, started taking Federated Commonwealth planets, and then they basically the Hans Stavians was like, well, this is not, this ain't working. So he basically called it quit and brought his guys back to kind of mitigate the damage the Combine was doing, because there's no point taking a bunch of planets and losing more important planets back home. So it was a quick and short war, thankfully, compared to the other succession wars, especially the first succession war. I listened to some gentleman's history on that, and holy cow, they just killed everybody. The first and second, when they were using just nuking everything, it sounded horrific. So hopefully that does not come to. It's supposed to be an Earth-like possible future kind of could happen kind of stuff, and it's like I hope it doesn't, because it sounds horrific. But that's it. So the big thing is have fun. Play through these battles. From what I understand, these Alpha Strike games and looking at the rules can go pretty quick. So I could get, 2 games done in a day, and that will be fine. Because that way, because on tap with these first 5 planets or 5 forces, 5 different planets attacking it. It's going to take a little while, and then with the maps, we can strategically pick where we want to attack next or fall back to, and it shows everything on these maps. It's pretty cool, and it has all the units of where they were. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. So fingers crossed this goes well and it's enjoyable. Addison's really likes a good future robot combat game. She kind of saw the mechs and was all excited to start playing, so that'll be cool. It'll be a good little thing for us to do. It'll probably make Liz, when Addison gets involved, the youngest daughter, Elizabeth, will probably want to jump in, but we'll see. Get out of control. Teaching one person is one thing. Teaching multiple at once might be a bit too much for my puny brain. But anyway, should work good, and I'm glad a lot of you guys liked the Battle of Zadorra Bridges. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I will chat with Scott probably very shortly to see what he wants to do with the next battle, and see if we can actually coordinate a time to do it over Discord. I'm looking forward to try to using that platform again. I have done one battle with a friend during the pandemic. Well, actually a couple friends using Discord, and it went pretty well. Of course, it was the pandemic was a dark time. And there was some much raunchy language used, but sorry for that. That was a long time ago, thankfully. And but hopefully have a more well put out battle report, and it'll hopefully be enjoyable to watch, and then enjoyable for us to take part in. We've never really gone head to head in anything, so it'll be kind of cool. I think that's all I got. I'm still painting Prussians, and I'm painting Union Epic. The Prussians are periplastics infantry for Napoleonics, and that's the plan. I'll play that, and I'm kicking around a couple other ideas, and I really just want to get into. I want to get all these things all wrapped up at once. I think it's going to be neat. It's going to look like I'm not doing anything right now, but when I get all these done, it's going to be awesome. So really looking forward to just many, many, many more years of awesome miniature wargaming. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll get a game out as soon as we can, or another video. And thanks again for watching this channel, and I appreciate you guys very much for all your help. See ya. Bye-bye.